Hello, I'm Angela.
And I'm Marie, the second half of this mother and daughter team.
Welcome to Chakra Checkups.
We're here to guide you on your quest for spiritual knowledge and enlightenment.
All right, welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into the root chakra.
Yes, root chakra.
So what does the root chakra do for us?
Well, your root chakra is at the base of your spine, and it's the very first chakra. And the root chakra has everything to do about bringing you to the earth, rooting your energy, like think of yourself like a tree, rooting your energy to the earth, being able to charge up from being rooted, and then to move energy and energize all the other chakras in your system.
Sounds important.
It is very important. Well, think of a tree with no roots.
I think a tree with no roots would end up falling down.
As do some people that are not in their bodies.
Okay.
Yes, that's true. So people tend to just kind of pass over the root chakra and think that's not important. And oddly enough, a lot of times people are very enthused with the idea of the Kundalini energy, which winds itself around the root chakra and wants to get their Kundalini going. This can be a big problem because if you're not functional in your root chakra and you release Kundalini energy because you've tried some special technique, that can make you really, really sick or even mentally ill.
How?
It's like you're firing off this huge amount of a charge and your electric system isn't even working. And so it scatters the energy and it moves around. Sometimes I see in people's, when I'm looking at them, their Kundalini, it looks like a wild red whip that's outside their body and just whipping around. It's not moving up their chakra system, and it can't because they have no grounding in their first chakra, and they have too many blocks in their other chakras. But they've been out there working on trying to get their Kundalini to work.
Okay.
And so it's like having a loose, wild hot wire in a storm. Not healthy. It's not a good idea. And I was in a meditation group when I was a teenager, and there was one man had gotten into another practice where he was trying to open up his Kundalini, had this big surge of energy, and then he fell into a deep depression after that, and he actually shot himself. It just messes with you if you try to run huge amounts of energy through your chakras and you disregard your first chakra and you're not grounded.
Okay, so how can we tell if we're grounded or not? Because the idea of being in a body or not in our body sometimes is a very foreign concept, because I think we all assume that we're alive, so we are in our bodies.
Well, there's a couple real physical things you can do. If you look down at your legs and your arms, and you got bruises all over from knocking into things, falling over, tripping, and hitting coffee tables and things like that, your car door, probably you're not in your body.
Like if you were in your body, you wouldn't bruise? Or you're saying you would be less clumsy?
You would be less clumsy. You wouldn't. When you're in your body, you're more aware of where your body is and where it's not. And you're much less likely to be bashing into stuff, falling down, tripping, hitting low-lying things like coffee tables, things of that nature.
Okay.
Athletes, if you notice, athletes are almost always very body-oriented, and they don't go around falling over and hitting things and things of that nature.
I mean, I would also assume that a professional athlete just might be a little bit more agile than the average person,
but they're also, if they can't be in their body, they won't be a good athlete either.
Okay.
So
because those are the people that can't put their two left feet in front of the other kind of thing.
Well, it's because if you have, again, go back to the tree, if you have no basis for grounding your energy and starting from the bottom and moving up like a growing plant, you can't just start growing it halfway up the stem. Mm-hmm. You have to start with a system that connects you to the earth. And that's what your first chakra does. It connects you to the earth. And when we put somebody in their body, they can really feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, oftentimes, if someone has not been in their body for a very long time, you put them in your body, they're not very happy because they say, wow, I have a lot of pain. I don't like this. It doesn't feel that good. I feel dense. I don't feel all light and airy, which they associate to spirituality, but that's not spirituality. Real spiritual people are very, very grounded. Mm-hmm. And they have an ability to be grounded at any time.
Yeah, I was talking about that with one of my friends who had recently gone on quite a few yoga retreats, and we were talking about some of the other people that were there, and he was kind of commenting like everyone just seems so out in outer space that I actually just kind of put a sign around my head and was like, I'm now on a silent retreat because
well, it can be fun to be kind of spacey like that, but it's actually not healthy. It's not good for your psychic immune system, and it's definitely not good for your physical body. You need to be in your soul can go out of your body. A lot of people don't quite really understand that concept, but your soul can and does go out of your body, sometimes at your command, sometimes because you're just not paying attention and you've never made the decision one way or the other. So there's no control on your part. Although you always have control, you're not exercising it. So if your soul is out of your body more often than 50% of the time, you begin to get sick. You just can't hold enough energy. You don't run energy properly through your systems. Your other chakras don't work as well. Everything just sort of starts to get out of whack. And I've done so many readings with very highly developed psychic people, and I'm looking at them, and there's not a reason why they are sick as they are, except that they're never in their body.
Because you need to be in your body to run the whole system.
Right. You have to turn the engine on in order to make a car run. You have to turn on, tune in, ground to the earth, and generate energy from your first chakra in order to get all the other chakras running perfectly.
So if we're going to break it down, what does that do to your system when you're out of body?
Well, for one thing, what's very common is the people that are out of body, they don't know when they're hungry. They don't know when they're thirsty. They get exhausted and they don't even know that sometimes that they're tired. A lot of times they wind up running on fight or flight energy. They're very scattered. They don't eat on time. They don't sleep well. And so your immune system can only take so much of that before you start to have physical symptoms. And you'll develop fibromyalgia, you'll develop thyroid problems, you'll develop shallow breathing problems. Lots of different things can happen. Digestive problems. And oftentimes someone that is not well rooted in their body, they like to eat a lot of sugar because sugar is grounding. It tends to kind of slam you back into your body and kind of snaps your brain loves sugar.
Yeah,
So-
give you that little rush.
Gives you a little rush of, brain energy and kind of grounds you. And so for a few minutes, you're like, wow, that's so much better. So there's a tendency to be very spaced out and then eat sugar, which that's just a perfect
Not very healthy.
perfect recipe for becoming diabetic. I mean, it's not good at all. There's no nutrients in sugar. But your brain is happy with it. Your brain will run on sugar, but there's no nutrients. It won't feed your nervous system. It won't feed your muscles. It won't add calcium or minerals to your body. So it's not the way to go. So when you go to sleep, almost everybody, I would be pretty confident saying everybody goes out of body when they're sleeping. And most people are out of body most of the time when they're sleeping. That means that half of the day, or at least a third of the day, if you sleep a third of the time and you're awake the other 2/3 of the time, you are already out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, as a regular rule, in your body half of the time, you will become ill and you will not function well. So that means that when you're awake, it's really, really important that you're in your body, that your soul is in your body, from the top of your soul to the tip of the toes of your soul should be aligned and functioning well with your physical body.
And you're saying that we're out of our body while we're sleeping just because we're entering more of a dream state or into the astral, or?
Both of those. You tend to go out of your body for lucid dreaming, to be with your guides, to do things in other dimensions.
Uh-huh.
And even though you don't have much consciousness of this often, it still happens. It still occurs.
Okay. So then walk us through, how do we get back in our bodies?
Well, a good way is to do it with a partner. I mean, if you have a regular partner, you can wake up in the morning, take their hands, keep your eyes open, look at each other and say, we are going to be in our body, we're willing to be in our body, and breathe. And as you breathe, think of your soul coming straight down, just like if there were two of you and one was directly above you, above your head in a straight line, and it's going to come down as you breathe until you are completely aligned, until you feel tingling, you feel sensation in your feet. Mm-hmm. You just keep breathing and saying, I'm willing to be in my body. I want to be 100% of my body. I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to bring my soul into my body until I feel tingling in my feet.
Why is the partner important in this exercise?
Because when somebody else is there, you won't tend to space out as much.
Okay.
If you have to look in their eyes and maybe hold their hands and you're both doing it, then you tend to, stay awake and not just fly off.
Okay.
And so that's useful.
And why do we feel the tingling in our feet?
Because your soul actually has density and has life force. And if you haven't been in your body and you suddenly breathe until you get your soul all the way down to your toes, you will actually feel it.
Uh-huh.
You will feel shorter. People feel shorter because if
they're used to being 20 feet taller.
Right, exactly. Or, 5 or 10. A lot of times their feet of their soul is sitting around somewhere around your chest.
Okay.
And the whole rest of your soul is up above you. Uh-huh. So you bring that all down until you align perfectly, and you feel shorter and you feel denser. You'll feel heavy.
Okay.
But generally also calmer and more conscious and more steady.
With just the added health benefit of actually being in your body.
Yes. But I'm telling the truth, there are people that have not spent a lot of time in their body and they've developed things like fibromyalgia or chronic pain or chronic conditions. And then they come into their body and they don't feel things. One of the reasons people go out of their bodies because they don't want to feel things.
Uh-huh.
They don't want to feel sad. They don't want to feel lonely. They don't want to feel separate. They don't want to feel pain. They don't want to feel discomfort. They don't want to feel depressed.
So it's kind of a way of like separating yourself from those emotions.
Yeah, I'm going to check out and I'll just be in my head thinking about things. And, but I'm not going to feel anything. Mm-hmm. And if you ask those people how they are, they say, I'm fine, totally fine. But they're usually a kind of deadpan fine. Just sort of on this funny, even, they look at you and their eyes don't sparkle. They're just like, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like a glazed zombie kind of.
Yeah. And then you put them in their body and they feel that they're not fine because they realize that, they hurt, their shoulders hurt, their back may hurt.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, the classic one, and I have talked about this before, is that a young girl that had been raped when she was 12 and had never been back in her body since. And that's one of the main reasons people do leave, is because of trauma. And so they're like, I never want to feel that again. I never want to go through that. I don't want to remember it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm just going to check out completely.
Mm-hmm.
And she had no sense. She weighed well over 350 pounds, and she had no sense that she was overweight at all. None. And when we put her in her body, she went, wow, I'm kind of heavy.
Yeah.
I know, and people laugh. But when you think about it, that's really kind of sad that if you can be so disassociated, then you don't even really know that you have any weight.
Yeah.
And that's the reason many, many people are overweight, is because they're...
The engine's not there to run it all?
Well, because they're wanting to be grounded and they don't feel it, and they keep trying to get that sense of the weight of their soul that should be there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so they keep trying to add weight. They keep adding weight and adding weight and adding weight. But they don't feel any of the weight, and they don't have any sense of it. And they're eating, and they don't even know that they're eating. I was with someone one time. They said, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry. Walked into a fudge store, bought a half a pound of fudge, ate it while we were walking along. And a minute later said, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten so long, I'm just so hungry.
Yeah.
And the person was very overweight.
Yeah.
Completely out of their body. No sense whatsoever. Didn't even really know that they had eaten.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like just a big disassociation.
A big disassociation.
Yeah.
And when you are in your body and your root chakra is grounded to the earth, then that doesn't happen. And a lot of weight problems will shift.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're hungry when you're hungry, and you're not hungry when you have eaten, and you know when you have eaten. I remember a nurse who told me, I don't need to eat. She says, I have a quad mocha every morning, and I have a bottle of wine when I get home at night.
Yeah, well, that works for some people, I guess.
She wasn't in very good shape, though. In fact, she was in awful shape. So there's several things you can do to get your root chakra working. One is a good breathing exercise. You think of your root chakra as like tentacles of energy going to the earth, and then breathe and think, I'm going to breathe from the earth up through my chakras and into the sun. Then I'm going to breathe down from the sun, down through my chakras and into the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing that a few times during the day will help you to focus on moving energy in a natural way from your first chakra, and also get you more conscious of the idea that you want to be there. Oftentimes people have problems with their root chakra because they're ambivalent about being on the planet. They think things are bad here on the planet, and they probably are. And they don't feel like they have a future, and they don't want to be on the planet. They would rather be someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly where that place would be.
No, but I think a lot of people kind of fantasize about not being in the life that they're living.
Right.
And so they want to be, not sitting at a desk. They don't want to be in this house with their family, or they don't want to be wherever. They don't know where they want to be, but they know that they don't want to be here.
Right. So they check out and space out and remove their soul from their body, which doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to accomplish anything. Your root chakra is about being physical, being in the physical, and connecting to the energy that's available for being in the physical. But it also has to do everything to do with charging up the whole rest of the system.
Mm-hmm.
And people are very interested sometimes. I want to open my third eye. I want to open my heart. I don't really care too much about my first chakra one way or the other. And
I think it gets skipped over a lot.
It gets skipped over.
People don't think about it as being very important, or maybe the information isn't very good on, hey, this is the battery that runs the rest of it.
And it's critical. It's critical to having it all work.
Yeah.
Trying to skip over that and then run something else would be like trying to launch a rocket without a launching pad.
Yeah.
It's not going to work very well. It just, nothing's going to run. And people that are working so hard to open their third eye or to do something with their crown chakra or to become a better healer, if they can't ground their energy from their first chakra, that doesn't happen and they get frustrated. I don't know why I'm not good at this or why I don't see things or why I can't do it. Well, because it's not safe. And your angels will keep you from being able to overdevelop certain chakras if you have no grounding for your own safety.
How does that help us be safer?
Well, you have the free choice to be in or out of your body.
Uh-huh.
But if you're trying to develop your third eye or something and you have no grounding, that's not very good to try to be, I want to go into the astral, but I'm not at all connected to the earth or to my body or to anything.
I guess I would think you're closer to where you want to go.
No, not really. Where you're going to wind up is in a mental institution.
Okay.
You can have a real break. I mean, you need to have a solid platform to work from.
Okay.
And people think that they can skip over that and they'll just become enlightened, but then they're frustrated and they go years and years and they don't get anywhere. Mm-hmm. I had just the other day someone that had been doing work for years and years and put her in her body, and she really said, I think this is actually the first time in my life I've been in my body. I don't think I've ever been here before. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't in great shape physically.
Well, hopefully now that you put her back, she'll feel a lot better.
Well, she'll feel a lot at first, and then she'll start to feel a lot better. Mm-hmm. And then it helps because when you're in your first chakra's grounded, and you're rooted to the earth, then you do know when you need something. It helps with your intuition. It helps you to feel things, feel what's good for you, what's bad for you. Because your whole system, physical system, kind of comes online. Mm-hmm. Whereas when your first chakra is not involved, your physical system isn't online. Mm-hmm. So you're running mostly on mental energy.
Yeah, you have like a better sense of time as far as like not being as spaced out as well.
Yes, you have a better sense of time, and your intuition kind of disconnects when you physically disconnect. So people they say, well, I don't know. I don't think my intuition's very good. Or maybe I don't have one. Mm-hmm. But of course you do have one, but you've got the system offline. Mm-hmm. It's like unplug your computer and then try to see how well it works. Or it'll work for a while and then the battery will wear out. And
right.
Then, and then it's not working. Like, what happened? Nothing's working.
Yeah, gotta recharge.
You've got to recharge, exactly.
Okay, so when we wake up in the morning and with or without a partner, then...
Breathe. I want to be in my body.
Like deep breathing, like...
Yes, deep breathing, thinking of breathing the energy of your body into the ground, connecting to the ground, feel your feet on the ground. In all the martial arts, they'll do that, what they call that horse stance, where they put their feet bend your knees a little bit, squat a little bit, put your feet far apart, and really ground your feet. You want to feel your physical body and visualize it connecting to the earth and gathering energy from the earth, from Mother Earth, and moving into our bodies and charging everything up, like turning on a switch of light bulbs. Uh-huh. And so that they can all fire up.
So we kind of just think about getting into our body and grounding in deep breathing until we're feeling our feet tingle. Mm-hmm. Do you always get the feet tingling?
Well, I think some people they're very much in their body, and so they don't have that because they know when they're grounded.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And if you're habitually are grounded and your first chakra is working well, then when you're not, you really notice a difference. Like all of a sudden, whoa, I'm losing it, or I'm, my focus is way off, or I'm stumbling, this is not a good sign. I better, take a minute, get back in my body, recharge, slow down a little bit, take notice. I got so blown off course.
Mm-hmm. You said that there was other ways that you could be out of your body as well.
Yes. One thing that sometimes I just wake up and I know things that I didn't know before. And I don't know, a few years ago, I began to realize and know how to correct when someone has an accident and their soul misaligns. And I began to notice that sometimes when someone has a bad fall, or they have a car wreck where they get thrown through the windshield, or something like that happens, someone hits them really hard on one part of their body.
Well, I know when I got hit in the face with my surfboard, then you said that my soul was misaligned after I had a bit of whiplash from that.
Yes.
Things like
what
that.
happens is your soul goes to the position that your body was in when you have the impact.
Uh-huh.
But because of the shock or the stress of it, doesn't necessarily always go back to an alignment. And it can stay that way ongoingly, 20 years, 30 years, longer. It actually has to be put back. Now, I can see this. I can look at somebody, and if their soul is out of alignment like that, to me, I will just see it looks almost like a little blue dotted line at the edge of their soul. A lot of people, I realize, won't be able to see that, but they can feel it. And if you were you fell off a cliff and you hit really hard, you broke your shoulder, and now it's been 10 years and your shoulder's still hurting, you can have somebody that has enough sensitivity that they can feel energy in their hands. Just go along that area of the body where you were hurt. And if your soul is out of alignment, you will actually feel this very static field at the edge of where your soul is. And what I discovered is you can just kind of put your hand on the edge of that static edge and start to intend to move your soul back into position.
But we're talking about a friend doing this for us.
A friend doing it. Yeah, I would do it for for you, Angie, I would intend that part of your soul move inward until it realigns. And at the same time, with my other hand, I will tap on the same area on the other side as a kind of a grounding thing, just a little light tapping, and then work on a little bit intending and kind of like pushing the air and pushing that static edge until you feel like it's all unaligned. Now, I don't know if you remember, but when we put yours back in, do you notice you have suddenly felt like it kind of went back in?
No.
Okay. You don't remember, or you don't think you did?
Both. Both.
Well, there's some people that actually have had a huge, suddenly, wow, it just did. Now it feels like it should feel. And then all of a sudden they start to heal. And the pain they had since their accident that hadn't been going away goes away.
Yeah. We caught mine pretty early, so I think it was only out of alignment for a day or something before I had talked to you online. Yeah, I didn't notice a big difference.
But I've had people that have been 20 years, 30 years. There was one woman had stepped off the steps, some steps out of a rowboat in Egypt and broke both of her ankles at a 45-degree angle. And when I saw her energy body, her soul of both feet was still at that 45-degree angle. And she was constantly having leg pain and foot pain and difficulty walking. And we put them back in, both of them, and all of a sudden she could walk better and her pain stopped. And once they're in, they're in. They're not going to go back to that bad position. So it's a very quick fix.
And it's not something that anytime you get hurt or have an accident, it goes out of alignment either.
No, it just seems certain times, a lot of times when there's a quick hit or a real, something with a real reverberation, like a whiplash or falling off a cliff or something that's quite a bit of impact, car wrecks, things like that. Although,
and then is one of the signs that you might be out of alignment, like feelings of pain?
yes, long after the thing should have healed, you're still having pain, you're still having achiness, you may even have some difficulty with movement.
Okay.
And we put it aligned, and it's good again. Now here's a trippy one. I was at a barter fair, and these people that had heard about me came rushing over with their little 6-year-old. And they said, we want you to help him. We want you to help him. He's got ADHD. And I looked at him and I said, well, no, he doesn't have ADHD. But let me look at him a minute. So I'm looking at him and I realize his head, the part of his soul, the head of his soul is separate, completely separate from all the rest of his soul and from his body. Mm-hmm. It was like it was sitting aside by about 1.5 feet from the rest of him. And, I said to the parents, I said, this may sound really strange, but his head if his soul is not connected to his body or his soul. And they said, oh, that's so trippy. That's what it says in his astrology. I'm going, well, okay. I don't know. I didn't know astrology said things like that, but I'm like, well, all right, well, that's interesting too. I said, I think he was decapitated in his past life. Uh-huh. So I said, do you mind if I put it back?
No, we would like to keep it there.
Well, I mean, it is their choice. I can't choose for them.
We've come to you for help. Please leave it aside.
So they're like, sure, And I asked the little boy. I always ask children how they feel about things, even though their parents are making the decision for them. I like to let them. So I asked him if that was all right with him. He was kind of spaced out, but he like, well, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I very slowly tried to move it closer and closer to him, which happened with no problem at all. And I told him to focus on the desire to have his entire soul in one piece and all in his body. And we moved it all the way in. And the interesting thing that happened was suddenly this consciousness of this little boy shifted tremendously. And he went from this disassociated ADHD child to a real boy. I mean, a natural, healthy, alert, shiny eyes, calm, centered little boy. Mm-hmm. So what the other diagnosis had nothing to do with anything. And the whole problem was this long-term disassociation from parts of his soul. And that was it. It was a 5-minute thing. His parents were all like, that's cool.
Easy solution if you can track down a person with sensitivity.
We'll bring him back if he ever does that again. But for people that have had things like that going on, it is really a miraculous thing. That again takes 5 minutes. Completely painless. You can do it.
Yeah.
In that case, we were sitting in the grass in the park, It was no big deal. But
is that something that if you think something like that could happen, you could do a meditation without the help of someone to push it back in? Or do you think you kind of need the person?
I'm not really sure about that. That would be something for someone to try. I haven't had a huge amount of people to work on.
Uh-huh.
Now, there was a girl that had this going on, and she was in Sweden. And so we just sort of trained someone over the phone, and I sat there and talked them through it, and I could actually track the energy as she moved it back in. And between the three of us, we were able to solve this. Mm-hmm. This girl had pain, sense of mountain climbing fall for more than 20 years. And honestly, the first week she was not so happy because she said, now I have more pain. Mm-hmm. For a while, it felt very uncomfortable to her, and it was not a sensation she was enjoying. But then it all got a lot better, and she stopped having the pain. So it can improve.
Because you're just more aware of whatever the incident was initially because you were out of soul when it happened.
And you have to do this whole reintegration.
Uh-huh.
Which could have happened also for the little boy. I don't know, because they just went off with them. I didn't even have a phone number or anything.
Right.
I don't even think I had the parents' names. They just sort of a spontaneous thing. They just grabbed me.
Kind of makes you wonder how they found you.
I never have wondered. The people always seem to find me. But at any rate, so he might have been a kind of a holy terror for a little while. But, or not. But it's a possibility. But that's just another way that people can be disassociated. And of course, if you've got that kind of a disassociation going on, then there's more of a tendency to not want to be in your body at all. And therefore, you're not grounded, and therefore, you're not rooted, and therefore, you're not charging up your body.
Mm-hmm.
And you're tired. If you're tired all the time and you're spacey, but you don't seem to have, if you feel much pain or anything, there's a good chance that you're not in your body and you're not focused on having your root chakra well grounded.
Mm-hmm.
In the Tibetan monasteries, they're always chanting the first, second chakra to stay in their bodies. Even though they're doing a lot of very high spiritual work, they're chanting the lower chakras to keep them in resonance and keep them in their body. Because they know it's a very important thing to do. It helps you to think clearer, and it helps you to be more practical. A lot of people that have a lot of psychic energy have this misconception that it's somehow better to be sort of spacey. It's more spiritual to be more spacey. It actually isn't. And although to them, from their own personal view, they think they're more spiritual, I think to a lot of other people, they just seem like they're more spaced out.
And is that just because you kind of feel things in a different way when you're out of your body, and you're kind of more in the crown chakra realm or something?
Well,
that feels more spiritual?
Well, I think you may think you're in the crown chakra realm, but I think maybe you're in a blood sugar crisis.
Okay.
Or something more of that nature.
Uh-huh.
You're dehydrated, or your blood sugar is crashing, or you're extremely low on protein or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I had a farm for a long time, a 40-acre farm, and I would have these people come and volunteer to be on the farm. And I remember there was one kid that was so spacey, and I'd send him out to do something, and I'd just see him kind of wandering around and kind of looking around like, I handed him a basket and said, go get some zucchini. And I had about 14 rows of zucchini, and they, the zucchini all over the place. And I just saw him walking up and down and up and down and looking around. And I'm like, I was watching him out the window going, what in the world is going on with this kid?
Yeah.
And he literally couldn't find zucchini in the garden.
I mean, to me, that just sounds like he grew up in a family that maybe didn't feed him a lot of fresh produce, and he might just have never seen a zucchini and was embarrassed to go and ask you or be like, oh, what does the zucchini look like? Can you show me how it's done?
Well, that may be, but the thing is, I put him in his body and made him eat a cheeseburger, and then he had no problem finding it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Is that spiritual, or are they just, there's not enough protein to run your brain.
Yeah.
There's not enough, you're not in any kind of consciousness. You're not in consciousness. You're in some form of unconsciousness. That feels airy-fairy, but you're really, you're liable to step off the street and get hit by a bus. You're not paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah. Because it makes you less aware of your surroundings.
Here's an interesting thing. Super, super psychic people that are, one of the ways you can tell that they're super psychic is to walk them into a room without telling them what you're going to do. And they close your eyes, now tell me everything you saw in this room. And I did this with a little boy whose parents said, they said, he's not psychic, you're misunderstanding. He needs to take Ritalin because he has attention deficit. And I said, okay, so come with me. And we all walked into this room where they had lots of stuff. A great big room. And I said, oh, okay, sit down. Close your eyes. Now tell me everything you saw in this room. And he named, there's this chair, there's this, above the chair, there's that, then there's this pot of flowers, and then and he went all the way around the room. No,
because he's hyper aware of what's going on.
Well, he was super conscious. He
Yeah.
was super conscious. He wasn't unconscious. He wasn't spaced out. He was super conscious. And he was a very grounded kid. That's more usual to someone who is in their body and paying attention, and it doesn't detract from their consciousness or keep them out of their crown chakra. It actually works together in a very good way and makes their consciousness that much better. They have a more precise vision. They're more clear what they're seeing and what they're not. They know when they're connecting. They know when you're going from one dimension to another dimension, and it all becomes sort of solidified and clear and easy to process. And that's all necessary to grounding. Whenever I do a meditation, I always start with my first chakra, and I always start with grounding my energy. I don't say I want to go there. I don't want to be out of my body. I want to be in my body. And I want to be in my first chakra and feel the energy and have that energy uncoil and start to charge up all of my chakras moving up.
Sounds like a good practice.
It's a very good practice. It's really, really important, and it can make a huge difference for somebody that's out there and they've been trying so hard to achieve another level in their spiritual development, but they've kind of skipped this step. It can make a huge difference. One thing you can do is, we've done this as an exercise, is literally go and dig a little hole and get some dirt a little loose, and then sit on a chair with your feet in and put some warm water and put the dirt back in there and just literally put your feet in the mud and literally think of connecting and being that grounded to the earth and feeling the energy of the earth moving up your body, charging up your chakras and everything realigning.
Well, I can imagine just going on a walk bare feet, down the beach in the sand or through the woods or something. That would also be very grounding as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, especially if you're thinking about connecting to the earth. Most athletes, again, they don't have a problem with this because they're very focused on their physical body and they're very focused on being grounded. So, but to go into water, to go swimming is usually very grounding. To walk barefoot is very grounding. So to anything that connects you to the forces of nature is going to help you to be very grounded, to be in your first chakra and able to move that energy.
Yeah, does that include just things like gardening and some of those
Yeah.
household kind of...
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of gardeners and farmers, they're very spiritual people. And I think that they become spiritual people because they spend so much time connected to the earth and watching things develop and grow. And they have to, if you're running farm machinery, as I did, you need to pay attention.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous sport. So you need to pay close attention. You have animals running all over the place, you need to pay attention. So you need to be in your body. It's a very, very important thing.
I mean, I think you should be in your body if you're going to drive a car.
There are people now. I actually worked with this one man, again, a very spiritual person, and he actually was bragging. He says, I actually work for the post office and I go on this very long route every day and I don't even know how I get there till I'm there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, I don't want to be driving where you're driving. What time do you leave? So I know never to be on the road with you. I mean, he didn't have any consciousness of the drive every day.
Yeah.
Completely spaced out. That's a lot of stress for your angels. Probably having to rearrange cars left and right.
Let's make that person 5 minutes late and they're going to lose their keys.
But he was pretty sick. Mm-hmm. He was very ill. His blood work was bad. He didn't feel well. He was just a mess. Mm-hmm. And when I tried to convince him that he needed to ground his first chakra and connect to the earth and be in his body, he was not interested in the whole concept. It was
probably just didn't make much sense to him.
Didn't make much sense to me. He was not inspired by that idea at all.
Mm-hmm. So if you are having a lot of health issues, it seems like this would be a good first place to start. Getting grounded, getting in your body. And
absolutely. If you've got a lot of undiagnosable symptoms, do an experiment.
Mm-hmm. See how many of those symptoms disappear after a couple days, couple weeks, couple months of being in your body.
Yeah. Try 30 days instead of 30 days of new wonder drugs, try 30 days of making absolutely sure, like 3 times a day, like make sure I'm back in my body, breathe, have my first chakra connect, see it light up, see it light up all my chakras, energize my whole body, and my whole physical body all works really well.
It seems like that would almost be more beneficial than doing your next 10-day cleanse even.
Well, I have a lot I don't like about cleanses, so I won't go into that. But yeah, cleanses aren't the way to go. And the cleanse does not put you in your body because you get dehydrated, you get low on protein, you flood your body with toxins.
I guess it just depends on which cleanse you're doing too, right? Or
well, yeah, but a lot of them, they're not very useful.
Yeah.
But you will energetically cleanse your body of a lot of stuff if you're moving light energy through your body. Mm-hmm. If you're in your first chakra, if you're feeling it, you can tone your first chakra. Mm-hmm. When you tone your first chakra, it's like this. Now, a lot of people, even when they hear that, they'll feel warmth in their first chakra. And it will definitely put you back in your first chakra. Mm-hmm. And they'll start to activate it.
Is that something someone could do before they're leaving bed? They make that sound instead of doing the meditation would work?
Well,
do both.
You could do both.
Yeah.
Hey, do that before you get into bed with somebody. It's so much better if you're in the room with the person you're having sex with. Sex is much better if you are in your body while you're having sex.
Yeah.
And I think sexually you'll function better if you were in your body while you were having sex.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people who said they've never had an orgasm. I don't think they've ever been in their body while they were having sex.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be some part of it. You're so disassociated.
I mean, that kind of makes sense if maybe one of your first experiences was something traumatic, then...
That's true. I mean, I'm not blaming them or anything. There's no blame intended, but they may have never really associated enough to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, be here now. Be in the present.
There's more joy in the present.
There's no joy anyplace else but in the present. Mm-hmm. And I'd be willing to bet that there's no orgasm anywhere else but in the present. I've never tried to have one.
Well, I hope there's
past.
orgasms in my future.
Well, that may be. But right now, when you're having one, you got to be in your body and you have to be present.
Okay.
It's really helpful. Start out of body and end on orgasms. This is a good thing. We're moving. See, we moved to the second chakra already.
Yeah.
It's a natural flow.
Yeah. Luckily, we already have our episode out on the second chakra and sacred sexuality. So after listening to this episode of getting into your body, you already have a place to go.
That's right. You have an activity already lined up. So everybody give it a try. Give it a try. Try to be super grounded, super conscious of your first chakra. Charge it up. Think of it charging from the earth, moving that energy into your body, inspiring every one of your chakras in your body to light up, and all the energy flowing effortlessly from your feet through your chakra system out to the top of your head. Try that for 30 days.
Yeah, and if you try it out, then let us know how it's going. We've got a link in the podcast description to give us a voice message. You have more questions, want to do a shout out, be like, this helped us so much. We love hearing those voice messages, so keep sending those in. And
unless, of course, they're busy having sex and
we don't want those. We don't want those ones. Don't send us those ones. Tell us after how it went. And yeah, we'll have another episode out for you shortly.
Yep, that's it for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.